I'm going to Germany to sit under a ministry there. It's not a missions work or anything like that. It's just really a time for me to receive just whatever the Lord has for me there.
Lydia lifted her eyes toward the hazy Georgia sky, the sun fading behind pines, the world quiet as she leaned against the barn's weathered beam. Tonight, she felt a chasm forming. Her hands trembled as she unpinned her apron, the lingering scent of fresh-baked bread mingling with unease. God, what am I supposed to do? The words hovered in her chest. Her parents, Kim and Barry Plath, had always whispered that God's direction was crystal, if only she listened clearly. Yet the verdicts they received rarely matched what Lydia's heart heard. Her siblings had taken already divergent paths. Ethan and Olivia had reshaped their faith to allow music, soda, even television into their lives. Mariah had slipped away with pop-punk anthems, and Micah guarded his own rebellions, while Lydia remained the anchor, the dutiful one. But now her future felt uncharted. She turned back toward the light spilling from the farmhouse windows, where her mother and father sat in measured harmony. Divorce felt like an echo of guilt that reverberated through the walls. Kim's voice drifted through the open barn door, soft, fragile. "Lydia," she called. Inside, Lydia found her mother paused in the doorway, eyes red, hands clasped at her waist. Barry stood silent behind Kim, folded arms and a quiet ache in his eyes. Kim?" Lydia asked, voice trembling. Kim swallowed, her shoulders curving inward. "I need to tell you something, sweetheart." Her voice hitched. "Barry and I are separating." Lydia felt the world distort. Separation wasn't just a word, it pulled the floor from under her convictions. "But Mom," she began. Kim reached for her. "I'm sorry." She touched her daughter's arm. "We've tried to obey, to follow God's will in every season. But we can no longer stay in this broken place." Tears welled in Lydia's eyes. "But, is this God's plan?" Kim offered a sad smile. "That, my girl, is part of the question. Sometimes the calling is to heal ourselves, to listen to what God is whispering beyond the traditions." Ethan found Lydia later that night, perched on the porch swing where the wind tangled her hair in whispers. "Hey," he murmured, sliding onto the wooden seat. She glanced sideways. "Hey." He stared at the ground. "I'm sorry. Mom told me." Lydia looked up. "I'm sorry, for what?" "For the way I argued with you about loyalty, when maybe I didn't understand." Lydia exhaled softly. "I don't know what I believe anymore. They say God has a plan, but must the plan always look like sacrifice? Like suppression?" Ethan's gaze softened. "God's voice took me outside the farmhouse too. Olivia helped me see faith isn't rules, it's relationship. Maybe God is calling us to something beyond what we've always done." Lydia stared past the trees. "But will Mom and Dad ever be hurt by us choosing our own way?" Ethan nodded slowly. "Maybe. But maybe their path is changing too, whether they let it or not." Weeks later, there was a new rhythm stirring through the farm. Mariah's guitar echoed in the barn. Micah and his girlfriend smiled at dinner. Lydia felt alive with quiet rebellion, or, perhaps, curiosity. Then, Zach arrived. When Lydia introduced him, wearing a simple suit and a tender smile, her heart shrank with fear and hope. He came with talk of ministry, of mission. He asked for her hand after only 4 months. "Is that God's plan?" The question hit her like a sliver of glass. Her brothers harried Zach gently. Ethan asked about commitment. Micah wondered about motive. Lydia prayed in her room, a new closet of her own, where she finally addressed God as a friend, not a rulebook. In that space, she heard, "Will you trust me?" So, hand in trembling hand, she told Zach yes. The world seemed to tilt. On the day of her wedding, Lydia's heart fluttered like a sparrow freed. She had never kissed Zach before. Sacrifice, control, obedience had shaped every impulse. Yet, in choosing her own yes, she felt sacred. Standing before her family framed by weathered timber and Georgia sun, she looked into her mother's eyes. Kim's expression softened. Pride, pain, release. At the altar, Lydia whispered to the minister, "I believe in this covenant, not a contract. It's not about laws. It's about love." Her heart brimmed with tears as Zach squeezed her hand. Behind them, Ethan recorded the moment, real, transformative.